What's up, guys? What is up? Sorry about the delay. There's always going to be a delay with me. I'm running around. I don't do this full time. I'm doing this for fun. So sorry that I'm late. It happens. How's everybody been? And what do you guys want to talk about? What do you guys want to get into today? I've got some free time. I thought, why not come chat it up with everybody on YouTube, right? I did a live stream last night about the JonBenet Ramsey stuff and the guy who turned in the suspect in that case. I don't know how I feel about the suspect and whether or not he's guilty or not guilty, whether he could be the actual person or if there's no chance. I know about the JonBenet Ramsey case, but I've never done a deep dive on it, just watched it. But the reason that I was talking about that yesterday had absolutely nothing to do with JonBenet Ramsey for the most part. The reason I wanted to talk about that yesterday was because of the guy that was in that video. The guy that was saying that the Gary dude wrote him letters. And I was wanting to know, this guy's on live TV doing an interview and, tripping over his answers. He said that the guy had sent him hair from a lip, and then he cuts himself off and he stops from saying of a little girl. He immediately goes into missing child's posters and then simulate it of a child. So that guy needs to be investigated in my mind. But that's why I did that live stream. I made it private because I usually make most of my live streams private after they're done for members only. Not private, but I guess I should advertise that, I guess. But most of my live streams go members only afterwards. But then I thought about it, changed my mind, and said, no, I want this entire live stream put out there because I don't want to chop it up and edit it and make it into something that people can look at and say, oh no, he was doing this. We watched that video. He said that in real time, live on Court TV. Anyway, what's everybody been doing? Hey, Crime Sleuthin'. Hey, Harlot. Hey, Natasha, Crooked Arrow, Cindy Townsend. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. Does this sound okay? I put this new thing here to try to block my big old lips from popping around when I make P words, right? But sounds good? Good deal. Video look good? Everything seemed clear? I appreciate it, guys. I saw Crime Sleuthin' was, she did a live stream yesterday where she was talking about the Alex Trivio, the girl who put her baby in the garbage can at the hospital. And I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught it at the end. But it seemed like maybe the reports for how they found the baby were different from the video. And even though it still doesn't change the situation of the girl and what she did. But it's one of those things where if people are not honest and truthful, it can cause a lot of problems for the prosecutor when he's trying to press charges. If the reports are lies, then you don't know what else might be lies, right? And that's the definition of reasonable doubt. So this girl, she did what she did. I'm sure most of you know about it, but she went to the hospital. She ended up being pregnant. She gave birth in the bathroom and put the baby underneath the trash can liner in the trash can. Oh, that's... I don't know why anybody would do anything like that, but that's disgusting. Exactly, KC. It's disgusting. It's not something I really want to cover. It's pretty obvious who did it, who's at fault, what happened. The video is, it tells a different story, I want to say Crime Sleuthin' was pointing out that the CNA in black said that she had picked up the baby, but she never picked up the baby. Maybe it's semantics. Maybe they meant when they picked up the trash can and the baby was inside. I don't know. But I saw saw you doing that yesterday, crime sleuthing. What was the report? Was the report very different, or was that the only difference? I would really like to know the answer to that, because I only caught the end of the live stream. I didn't get to see the whole thing. Yeah. And I appreciate you doing that, because that's not something that I can do. I'm not good with kids cases, right? And I've made pretty big mistakes as far as YouTube guidelines go when explaining what I think needs to be done to certain people who hurt kids. So I try to avoid the whole situation unless I feel like it's important. Oh. So what do you guys think about what was going on with Brian Kohlberger with the DNA evidence and the motion for that? Let me see. Pull this over here. And let's look this up real quick. See what we can find about that. I know I caught part of the lawyer yesterday. He was live and he was talking about the defense's motion or an affidavit filed by a DNA expert. And really, I got a lot of emails from, I don't know who these people are, right? These are emails being sent to me, but they're claiming to be like DNA experts, scientists, and you get a lot of emails when you do YouTube. I get a lot of emails from people, and some of them I think, wow, that's insightful. Others I think, wow, that's one of the craziest people I've ever spoken to. But no matter what it is, like they're gonna send emails, and I read them all. I read everything that people send to me, even when they send books, like this person did. And this person asked to not be identified, and they were, I don't even want to talk about why they said they didn't want to be identified, but they were going through talking about how the DNA evidence can't be true. And I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm a construction worker. So I have no clue what they're talking about. Up until that point, I hadn't even heard the word octillions, right? But their argument was that it couldn't be so specific with the data and the technology that they have when they ran that, whatever. And so the DNA evidence couldn't be correct. And then from what I caught from the lawyer yesterday, he was saying that the defense turned in an affidavit from a DNA expert speaking on it. I'd like to go through and find that and find the clip from that, so we can go through it. But I don't want to just throw up the lawyer live stream, because it was just yesterday. And I mean, if it's been a week or two and it's not something that he's still getting views on, I don't mind reacting and watching other people's stuff. But he did it last night, so I don't want to put it on my stream today. No offense to anybody who does do it. I don't know all the copyright law. I just out of respect. So, let's see. Kohlberger. Let's see what we can find here. And we'll go through something. Oh, nothing new there. Let's see if we can find them. Oh man, my searching just isn't doing very good right now. Let's do this one then. If I would have known what I was going to talk about before I went live, I would have had this already, but I don't. Can we get anywhere with this? Does anybody have a link? Anybody in chat have a link to a video reporting on what the lawyer was talking about? Let's just go here. Go check out Law and Crime Network and see if they have anything on this. Because new evidence being presented by the defense or the prosecution is something I want to keep up with. And I didn't catch enough of the lawyer's live stream to know whether he thought that this was relevant or not. But if he's reporting on it, I feel like it has to have at least some relevance, right? No? Nothing yet? Nothing yet? Alright, let's go to Old Faithful then. If they're not talking about Brian Kohlberger, they don't really have much to talk about. So let's see what they have to say. And what do you guys think about the UFO stuff? Just for a moment while I try to find this. You guys think that these new UFO whistleblowers are actually giving any information that's going to lead to anything? Or is it just another, stunt to get attention and write some books? It's Chris Cuomo's birthday, apparently. Not a big fan. I did see him on the Valuetainment podcast. He came off like a pretty good guy in that podcast, but it doesn't change what I've seen over the years. Not a big fan of Chris Cuomo or his brother. Just a bunch of alien stuff right now. Alien stuff, alien stuff, alien stuff. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to research that a little bit more and get to it before I try to go on and do a live stream about it, right? I haven't researched it at all. I thought it would be something quick that I could look, catch a clip, and understand what was going on, but apparently not. Apparently it's something that's going to take me a little bit of time, and to do that live would be boring. Now, let's read some chats real quick and see what everybody thinks about the UFOs. Well, first, Mark Fowler. How do you think Bama's QB situation is going to go for us this season? I think that we have our pick of the litter, right? When we go in and start looking for athletes to come play ball at the University of Alabama, we have a dynasty. So people are going to choose the University of Alabama. Sorry, I've got to read this. It's from my son's school, so yeah. All right. So the University of Alabama has their pick of the litter, but we've shown in the past that we don't have to have a quarterback. We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to bash any of the kids. Oh, let's go back up. If all they have on him is what we know as of now, I couldn't find him guilty without any doubt. I agree, Natasha. I agree. A lot of people get mad at me because I say that, but and people get mad at you no matter what you say, right? But I believe Brian Kohlberger is most likely going to be found guilty of this crime. And I believe that for a variety of reasons, like the evidence that we've seen so far, it points to a certain story. right? But it doesn't prove that story. So if the only evidence that they have is what they've let us know so far, then he's not going to be found guilty, right? Or at least he shouldn't be found guilty. You never know what those 12 people are going to be. But if you just take the Occam's razor approach, right, and you think about it, there's most likely details that they haven't released to the public that they do have in the case. And if they have those details, then, I mean, it doesn't look like Brian is innocent, right? There's nothing jumping out at me that says Brian didn't do this crime or couldn't have done this crime, right? So he's got a 50-50 shot in that sense. But the prosecutor has to put together a story and back that story up with evidence that shows Brian did do this crime. And when I say that I think he's probably guilty, I mean that by, I think he probably did do it. Like, a lot of the narrative makes sense. A lot of the evidence seems to suggest that it would be very possible for him to do it, that he had the opportunity to do it. The phone being turned off right before and back on right after and stuff, it leads to the thought, right, that, yeah, he probably did it. Because you're only getting that narrative from mainstream media. So when you only hear one side of a story, it's easy to believe that side of the story. But as time goes on, and especially during the trial, we're going to hear another side of the story. And that other side of the story is going to be Brian Kohlberger's side of the story. What he says he was doing that night. Why he couldn't have done this. Now, when he turns in his alibi and it says that, oh, well, he was driving late at night to clear his mind, that gives him, a reason to not be at home. That gives him a reason to be out in his car, driving around all these random locations. They have that car on video, right? If they can prove that's his car. But it gives him those reasons. And then turning his phone off would be, well, I wanted peace of mind. I was going on a ride. I wanted to zone out and chill. I didn't want my phone going off bothering me. And that's what that alibi basically leads to. Now, when they pull up the records and show that he does this from time to time, late at night, early in the morning, he's out driving alone by himself. The records that's going to be able to show that, to prove that for the defense, is also going to show that he didn't turn his phone off on those other trips. Right? So that's also not going to look great for the defense, and it's going to be something presented by the defense. Unless he did turn his phone off for those other trips, and then, well, I mean, you don't have the evidence that he did it before, right? So it's kind of a catch-22 situation there, but at least they're given an explanation for why he's out driving around. But if somebody's looking at that and they want to see that, yes, this person did do this crime, then when he admits to, 4 o'clock in the morning, no, I wasn't at home in bed, I was out driving around with my phone off, they're going to feel some type of way. And that's why I think he'll probably be found guilty. But at the same time, the law is the law. And if the jury instructions are read correctly, which is something that we've had an issue with already in this case with the indictment, right? But as long as the jury instructions are read correctly and followed to the T, then the prosecutor is going to have to prove that Kohlberger did it beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecutor doesn't just have to say, yeah, most likely Kohlberger did this, right? Because I can say that right now. That's what I mean. Most likely, Brian Kohlberger committed this crime. You can't give the death penalty to somebody for that. You can't put them in prison for the rest of their life because they most likely did it. They have to prove it. And when they prove it, when it's beyond a reasonable doubt that Kohlberger committed the crime, then he can be found guilty. That's not so cut and dry just because you look at the evidence as a viewer on YouTube from people giving you a story, slant it to whichever way they want to try to paint the narrative, right? Whether they're painting that he's innocent or painting that he's guilty. When you listen to them and they tell you this information, they're cherry picking information to tell you and get you to understand their narrative of what they believed happened, right? I do this too. But we're telling you what we believe and what we believe happened, and it's just another narrative, right? The only people who know what happened is Brian Kohlberger, possibly Dylan, and possibly Bethany, right? Possibly. But that's the only people here with us that we know might have an idea of what happened. The rest of us are all guessing. And until the prosecutor has evidence of Brian Kohlberger going into that house, committing the crimes, unless the prosecutor has motives and connections between, then I think it's going to be hard to convince a jury that just because this person was out driving at nighttime in that area, that they did commit this crime, right? Especially when you're in a college area, at a party house, where there's parties going on all the time, people are in and out, they don't even know who owns, like there's video camera, there's video from body cameras of police, of the police talking to people, and the people there not even knowing who lives at the house. So let's just do a little thought experiment here and say, okay, there's this big party house where people are in and out. It's all, it's kids having fun, pretty much, right? Young adults, kids having fun. What are the chances that if Brian Kohlberger was stalking and wanting to commit this crime, if this was planned out, if he did have his eye on certain victims, what are the chances that he has been in that house during those parties, right? When other strangers are in? What are the chances that he went into that house at any other time to scout it out, right? Because we're going down that road right now. We're saying he did do it, right? So what are the chances that if he did do this, that he went in that house before the crime was ever committed, sees the layout of the house, sees where the rooms are, sees everything that he needs to know, right? Pretty high. I would say pretty high. Because it's a party house with people going in and out that don't even know who live there. So why wouldn't he take that opportunity to go in and get an idea before he tries to go on this secret op mission and take out 4 people in 8 minutes in the middle of the night with a blade? I would assume that he would want to scout out the house, right? Just like all the investigators on YouTube running around and getting all the pictures of the interior of the house off of Zillow, things like that. You would think that he would have done his homework too, right? But if he did, is the data going to show it? Did he go to the library and use computers there? Did he use other computers to do his research, or did he do it on his own? Did he think he was never going to be investigated in the first place for them to be able to find stuff? Who knows, right? But so far, we can't say that Brian Kohlberger is guilty because the police have given us no connection whatsoever. The thing that everybody repeats about, well, he went to the Mad Greek, well, that's been refuted, right? And that was never an official report. There's no documentation saying Brian Kohlberger went to the Mad Greek that we know of from any reliable source, right? Then, well, he was friends with all of them on Instagram, right? He followed all of them, and he had screen rips from Instagram to his phone saved. That's just rumors and reports, but there's nothing that's been presented that lets us know that in the actual court of law. But what has been presented in the actual court of law is Brian Kohlberger's defense lawyer saying there is absolutely no connection between Brian Kohlberger and the victims of 1122 King Road. No connection. I feel like having pictures of them on his phone would be a connection. I feel like a connection on Instagram would be a connection. So I don't feel like she would be able to say that in her motion if it wasn't true without the prosecutor making a big deal about it, right? Right? So those rumors that he had pictures of him on his phone and followed him on Instagram and messaged him a bunch of times, those are just rumors so far. There's no official report of that whatsoever, right? And that's what we have to go off of, because I can speculate just like Harsh can speculate, just like News Nation can speculate. We can all speculate. We can say some crazy shit, right? Right? See the Upchurch situation going on right now with Kylie Rodney's family? We can all speculate. But the only thing that matters at trial, in court, is the official documents, the releases, right? The official narrative that they have documentation of or they testify to at trial or at a hearing, right? And from that, we don't have those connections. So far we have no motive and no connection. We have a college student living in a college town, driving a very, very, a Hyundai Elantra, a white Hyundai Elantra. That's a very common car, especially for college students. And we've got two towns that both have a college that butt up to each other, right? Two universities within 10 miles. So how many white Hyundai Elantras are in that area, right? You remember there was like 23,000 Hyundai Elantras? And we don't know that the car is white, right? Could be silver, could be gray. All the photos are nighttime that we know of, right? Maybe it's white, maybe it's silver, maybe it's gray, maybe it's beige, maybe it's any other color, right? It's a crap ton of those cars. Now, you have Kohlberger admitting to being out driving, right? So we're not going to catch him in, oh, well, you said that you were at home, but you're really out driving. His alibi is that he was out driving. So you have a 28-year-old college student, and he's out driving his car around the time that these murders took place. But him driving his car, or his car being in the area where the murders took place, does not mean that he committed the murders, right? So in our minds, while we go over this case, watch this case, we start to think, okay, well, yeah, this shows that he's there, right? If he's out at that time of night and he goes there, he drives there and his phone's turned off, well, obviously he was up to no good, and obviously he went and he committed this crime. But in the court of law, you have none of that, because all you have is a college student driving around in a college town on the night that some murders took place, right? You have nothing putting him in the house, right? But oh wait, we've got the sheath. We've got the knife sheath. Now the knife sheath, that's a big one. That puts him inside the house, right? Wrong. That puts him touching that knife sheath at some point in time. And we have to break down that it's not going to be the night that the murders took place where he leaves his DNA on this knife sheath button, but nowhere else. Nowhere else on the sheath, nowhere else in the house, nothing, right? His DNA is on that knife sheath at some point in time. But wait a minute, was it only his DNA on the knife sheath? Well, absolutely not, right? I mean, the knife sheath was found kind of underneath one of the victims in the bed where two victims were laying. So definitely his DNA isn't the only DNA on the knife sheath, right? Now, is it only the victim's DNA and his on the knife sheath? We don't even know that answer, right? Because we're talking about a snap here where anybody who ever opened that knife sheath could have their DNA on it at any point in time in history, including Kohlberger. And we have to admit that he's going to be wearing gloves, right? If he left no other trace, no other touch DNA, no other nothing, nowhere else in the whole house on none of the victims, you don't have a weapon, you just have a sheet that has a little bit of DNA on it, does that put him inside that house on the night of the murders? Or do we still just have him driving around in his common car on a college campus, right? around the area where this took place. And then, his DNA is inside of the house on what we believe to be the sheath of the murder weapon. But we have no murder weapon. We don't have that. So we don't have his DNA on the murder weapon. And then this is a minuscule amount of DNA that was not found. So the defense is going to question the chain of custody, right? The defense, they're going to question the genealogy, right? That's what the whole DNA stuff is about. Like, how did you even come to the conclusion that that was his DNA on there? Where did you get a source to match his DNA to arrest Brian Kohlberger, right? They're going to push through all of that. And that's what Ann Taylor is working on right now, because if she can get rid of the knife sheath, then she can get rid of any link of Brian Kohlberger to the victims. Then you never had a good reason to arrest him, which means he can't stand trial. Now, I highly doubt that any of that pays off, but it could, right? Doubt it, but it's possible. Anything's possible. But so far, just a college guy driving around in a common car in a college town at the time these murders took place. He's in that general area that we know of. Or we believe he's in that general area, right? Because we don't even know that that's his car. Unless they have some marker other than a front tag not being on the car. Because I'm sure that the defense can ride around and find a bunch of other white cars without a front tag, right? So unless they have something that specifically proves beyond a reasonable doubt that that is his car, then they don't have him in the area. But he admits to being out driving around in his car. So even if they do, y'all see where I'm going with this? Like, there's reasonable doubt in so many situations. If they had a motive, if they had a connection, I feel like this would be a lot cleaner of a case. I feel like let's say that Brian Kohlberger, they have witnesses that say that they saw Brian Kohlberger approach one of the girls at the restaurant or say something, or there was a report of one of the victims saying that this guy said something out of the way to him, or maybe even just made a pass at him. If they do have social medias where he's liking and stalking their pictures and pages, and if he had ripped it off there, that's all good connection, and that leads to motive. That feeds that incel narrative, right? But they don't have that, as far as we know, as the general public. Too many people get caught up in what this YouTuber said or what this news channel said. But you can't. You have to look at what they actually have, not the narrative that's being shoved your way. You have to look at the case for what it is. You have to take all emotion out of the case, right? You have to read the letter of the law, see how a trial really works and what the standards are, right? And then you have to go through and compare the standard to what they have. Does this meet the standard of beyond reasonable doubt? No? Okay. Well, what's it missing? Okay, so that's the evidence that we're going to need to see at trial from the prosecutor to convince us that this is the case, right? We're going to need evidence to convince us that, yes, that is his car on camera. Yes, that is his car on this camera, in this area, still driving around in the neighborhood. Yes, that is his car parking. But then we're going to need to see him get out of that car. Someone get out of that car and go into the 1122 King Road residence, right? We're going to need to see more than just the cars driving around the area during the time that the murders took place. We're going to need to see the actual times of death of the victims, right? The time in between each victim passing to the best of their ability, right? The order of who was first, second, third, fourth, the way this took place, right? What the witnesses heard, saw, anybody who was in the house. We're going to need to see that all the stories, whether defense brings it up, of the crime scene being contaminated, right? We're going to need to know what the prosecution has to say about whether the crime scene was ever contaminated or not, and what the defense says and why they believe it was or wasn't, right? And then we know for a fact that before the defense ever got to go to the crime scene, the prosecution was trying to send a cleanup team to clean up the crime scene. So does that not by itself establish that the crime scene could have been contaminated? I mean, there's so much that brings up questions in the case, right? And it's good. It's fine. We can have a bunch of questions and still know for a fact that someone is guilty, right? If you have something on video of a person walking through a door and attacking a person, right? And then walking back out, you're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to be like, why did he do that? Who is that to him? Are they okay? Right? But there's no doubt that they walked in and did it, right? But in this case, there's a lot of doubt that Kohberger walked in and did it because they haven't shown us the proof yet. I can't assume that the prosecutor has dead to rights evidence against Brian Kohberger. That would be wrong because I'm supposed to presume that Brian Kohberger is innocent until they prove him guilty, right? Now, there's been a lot of shadiness with this case. There's been a lot of behind the scenes, the police not communicating with the families. There's been like a glove, right? In a quadruple homicide where they got everything shut down, everything taped off, and they're watching. 2 weeks into the investigation, a YouTuber comes out and finds a glove laying outside, and that's entered into evidence. The police didn't see the glove. We can't even get into all the craziness around the case, right? Because that would just take all day. It would take forever to try to dispel any of the rumors and stuff. So ignore the rumors. Ignore what's being said that's not backed up with data, that's not backed up with documentation, that's not backed up with video, that's not backed up with witness reports. Ignore anything that's not going to be presented at court and tell me that Brian Kohberger is guilty. Tell me that. Because I don't see it. And if you have something that shows you definitively that Brian Kohberger is guilty of this crime, what is it? Because I'll play devil's advocate. I'll defend him. I can go either way you want to go on this case. That's the interesting thing about this case right now. I have my personal opinions, and then I have my opinions of what I think, right? Like, how can I explain this? Like, how I personally feel about the case and what I think, whether Brian Kohberger is guilty or not, and what narrative I think would play the part if he were guilty or wasn't guilty. And then I have the truth, the reality around the situation, right? Not what I think, but what they're proving, which is what they have to do in court. So with my narrative, I can make Brian Kohberger sound guilty as shit. I mean, I can tell a story that's going to paint Brian Kohberger as definitely the person who committed this crime. But in that story, I would have to repeat things that are not documented, that there's no proof of, there's no evidence of. It's just something somebody said, right? When you take all that out, it's just not there. But I can ask questions that defend against Brian Kohberger because the burden's on the prosecution at all times. In every criminal case, the prosecutor holds the burden of proving that Brian Kohberger, or whoever the suspect may be, committed the crime, right? And the defense, they don't have to prove anything. Anything. Now, it would be stupid for a defense to sit there and just be like, oh, well, you don't have the proof, so I'm just not saying anything. I'm not even going to pick your story apart. I'm just going to let you say whatever, and since I know you can't prove it, I'm not even going to argue it. That's not a defense, right? That's just an accused person. And when you only have one side telling that, then it's going to be easy. But to think the defense isn't going to pick apart the prosecution's story when the prosecutor, so far as what the public knows right now, they have to speculate in their story to get to the point of proof against Kohberger, right? Right? All the defense has to do is instill a little bit of doubt, to question what the prosecutor's saying, to make the jury members say, hey, that's right. Hey, yeah, do you have anything putting him in the house? Do you have anything connecting him to the people? Because otherwise we just have a college student driving around a college town at nighttime. We don't have evidence that he did it. We have evidence that he touched the sheep that may or may not be connected to the murder weapon. But we don't have a murder weapon. We don't have any of their DNA or hair on him. They don't have any of his DNA or hair on them. They don't have a witness that can pinpoint and say, yes, this is the person who did it. They can only say, well, somebody with bushy eyebrows. A lot of people have bushy eyebrows, right? But I can play either side of that story. I can question somebody who thinks he's innocent. I can question them down to where they have no answer. Somebody who thinks he's guilty, I can question them down to where they have no answer. To where they're going to say, their last response will be, well, it's obvious. Well, I mean, you got to know that it's this. Or, no. As far as what we know right now, there's no connection. There's no motive, right? Everybody believes the incel narrative deep down in their mind. Everybody's thinking that that's the way the prosecution is going. That they're going to say that Bryan Kohberger hates these beautiful young college girls because he doesn't have a chance with them. Because he's not of their value. Or whatever the narrative is. And I don't think a lot of people who follow true crime, I don't think a lot of you really know how big this incel push has been lately. Like the whole red pill talking point bullshit, that's incel narratives being pushed, right? I know people like certain people who are red pill, and a lot of the red pill guys and women too say a lot of things that make sense, right? That's how they gain their audience. They say basic random facts that everybody pretty much knows and agrees with, and only the fringe person is going to push against. And then they use that to make a leap into something that's vulgar, right? That's hateful. That the people who are defending the ideas of the traditional values are going to try to defend that too, because they think it fits in that world, that worldview, right? But it doesn't. It doesn't. The incel, the Elliot Rodgers type incel, is not, oh, well, this guy just can't get a woman and he can't find a girl to pay attention to him. That's not necessarily it. They want a certain specific girl. But they don't want just a certain specific girl. They want that certain specific girl, and they want that girl to worship them, to praise them, to let them do whatever they want to do. But she has to be a traditional woman. They don't have to be a traditional man, right? And they don't have to be a traditional man because traditional women don't exist, but they want the traditional woman while they still don't be a traditional man. Shit aggravates me, right? Both sides. The women that they have on those shows aggravate the hell out of me because they say some of the dumbest shit, and they're the absolute worst representative for women that you could put on the show because they represent like the 0.01% of women who live this crazy lifestyle of getting flown out by Saudi Arabian princes and stuff, and they don't understand reality for 99.9% of the world, right? They can't comprehend it. And then the men, they make really good points, and then they push it all the way to where it's this dumb fuck incel, stupid shit, right? Stupid shit. Sorry. I don't know why I'm talking about that. But, yeah, dude. The incel stuff. Everybody believes Bryan Kohberger as an incel, and he could be. Could very well be, right? I don't think he's a super unattractive person. I mean, I think there's some really bad pictures of him, but he seems to be like an average guy, right? Average guy going for his PhD, right? So all these red pill talking points, right? He would be buying into that he's this high status, high value man. So these top tier women should be wanting him when they're not. And when they're not, he's mad at them, right? Can we all agree that that's the narrative that's being pushed, right? Not necessarily that that's how it is, right? Because we would need to see evidence that that's how it is. We would need to see that he is obsessed with Elliot Rodgers, that he is following this whole manosphere and hatred, misogynistic hatred of women, and like literal, not just, oh, the media wants to say this is misogynistic, even though it's just an actual true fact, but real misogyny, like calling them, looking at women as animals and as less than beings and stuff, right? If you can make that case, and then you can put like, that's what I need to see to buy their narrative. I need to see evidence that he's that person, right? That he holds those that he holds those views, and that he has some connection to these victims. If you showed me that one of those victims shot him down, if you showed me that he was obsessed with that victim that shot him down, and then you show me him leaving his house right before the murders took place, turning off his phone, showing up on video in his car in the area, going in, committing the crime, his car speeding away at the end, and then coming back later that day, right? Then I would be more convinced. Then I would feel like, yeah, he did it. Like, it's obvious he did it, right? But they haven't showed that. Why not? Why haven't they showed that? Why haven't they come out and said that? If they want the attention to go away, right? If the Idaho police, Moscow police, and the judge, and all the people associated with the case, if they want the attention to die down on this case, why wouldn't they just lay out their clear reasoning for why they think he's guilty? The defense knows. The defense knows the reasoning for why he thinks he's guilty. They do at this point, right? But the prosecution didn't even want to give it to them at first. Like, they had to fight for it, and they're still fighting for certain evidence to come in that they believe should come in that the prosecutor doesn't believe, right? That's par for the course with a trial. But as far as the reason they believe he did it, the prosecutor just gave a data dump on the Kohberger defense when asked for that. Just 51 terabytes. Here you go. Figure out what we believe. That's shady. Why is that? Because you don't want them to be properly ready to defend themselves? Because your story might not make complete sense yet? Because you still have puzzle pieces that you need to get into place? Which is why they're trying their best to force Kohberger's defense to request another stay, to waive his right to a speedy trial so that they don't have to have a trial for multiple months, years down the road until they can build a better case against him, right? Or let the attention die down so that people aren't pointing out, hey, this is not right. This is not what they said. This is not what the prosecutor said they had, right? And then if they fumble the ball and Brian Kohberger walks away without everybody watching, not nearly as bad. But right now, with all the attention this has, if Brian Kohberger is found not guilty, how does that reflect on the Moscow Police Department? How does that reflect on the FBI? How does that reflect on the justice system for the fact that, they would snatch somebody of Brian Kohberger's caliber and throw him in prison and make him famous for a crime that he might not have committed? If he's found not guilty, right? Because being found not guilty does not mean you didn't do it. I struggle with the short thinking of some of the people on YouTube when they get so mad, right? Like, if you say that Brian Kohberger might be found not guilty, they're offended by the fact that you would think he could be found not guilty. Just because they believe he's guilty. But those 12 jurors are not going to get fed all the propaganda, right? Call it what it is, propaganda that we've been fed. They're not going to see the stuff that isn't relevant to the case, that isn't in evidence. The jury shouldn't know about the case whatsoever. Maybe they heard that these students got murdered, but they shouldn't know any details of the case. They shouldn't know Brian Kohlberger's name, right? Now, we've seen, like in the Murdaugh case, where that might not be the case with a jury, but at least then that gives a reason for the defendant to appeal. Because in the Murdaugh case, one of the members of the jury was a brother to one of the first responders of the murders of Maddie and Paul Murdaugh. So the guy's brother was a first responder to this huge crime in a small town where one of the most powerful people in that town was on trial for these murders. And that first responder's brother was somehow allowed to sit on the jury. Did that first responder not talk to his brother about this huge case going on, about the most powerful family in the town that they live in? Think about that. So, juries should be people who don't know anything about the case. They're not always that way. Once again, I'll reference Y.N.W. Melly, right? That jury, in what looks like an open and shut case, that yeah, the guy did it, right? Like, you would have to convince me he didn't do it at this point because of the evidence that the prosecutor presented. But even in that case, there was at least one person on that jury who was, nope, he did not do it. You can't convince me that he did it. And then they were able to change the minds, supposedly, according to one of the jurors, of two other jurors before they eventually were deadlocked and weren't going to come to an agreement, and the case was mistrialed and it's going to be retrialed later on, right? But even in a case where it looks like it's open and shut, where it looks like all the evidence aligns, where you've got video of the specific suspect getting into the specific seat of the same car where the murders took place, and the suspect, whoever did commit those murders, was sitting in that seat, and you have video 45 minutes before the murders took place of this suspect getting into that seat, into that car, his phone tracking with that car all the way down the road to where the murders took place, then him leaving, then him getting out of the car, walking around the car to stage a drive-by, and then leaving and going somewhere else while his friend goes and changes clothes and takes the bodies to the hospital and claims to have been in a drive-by, right? You have such clear evidence there. You have a confession, right, in text message where somebody's texting Melly and saying, oh man, are you all right? I heard about what happened, and him saying, I did that. Shh. You have that, but then you still have members of a jury who's like, no, I don't believe that the state proved that he is guilty, right? Was they planning? Did they know about the case, and were they a fan of Melly beforehand and was always just going to say not guilty, right? To cause a mistrial? How many times do you think that the state is going to be able to retry Melly if that continues to happen? Just a question. Even FBI said from the start this was targeted and personal, and then arrest a stranger. Exactly, Casey. Exactly. Like it was targeted, then it wasn't targeted, then it was maybe the victims were targeted, maybe it was just the house was the target. Like, come on, right? It's whoever did it, yeah, it was targeted at some point. When was it targeted? Was it targeted when they saw the house? Was it targeted months before and somebody's been prepping and planning? Was it targeted when somebody was inside the house and then got caught being inside when they shouldn't be? Right? Like, there's so much we don't know. Now, Kaylee and Maddie, they were on the third floor, right? and they were drunk. We saw them at the grub truck video. Not totally wasted, but drunk, late at night. They've done went home. 2 hours later, they're asleep in the bed. If not asleep, at least laying in the bed, right? Getting ready to go to sleep. And then a stranger comes in and attacks them. I don't think that it's that hard to believe that would be a quick scenario, right? Because it wouldn't take long to have two victims who are unconscious side by side, right? But you would think it makes a lot of noise. You would think it would be more than just bumping. You would think there would be blood-curdling screams, right? Unless somebody's covering their mouth or stopping them from making noise. But how? How do you do that when you're attacking two people? But I say it's possible because they were laying there already unconscious, right, when the attack starts. But we heard what Kaylee's dad said about there being a hell of a battle going on the second floor, right? That's where Ethan and Xana were. Ethan and Xana were not in the bed, right? They weren't found in the bed. Maybe Xana was found on the bed. But that doesn't mean she was asleep because she had just ordered DoorDash, right? So they weren't in the bed. So this guy goes upstairs first, right? That's what we believe. Takes out Kaylee and Maddie and then comes back downstairs. But the people on the second floor who were awake, which is Xana, Ethan, and Dylan, right? They had to have heard this struggle, this tussle, this violent action going on. I mean, if we take away the screams, right? We take them away. Say there was no screams. You're downstairs. Somebody's upstairs. They start violently beating on the bed. Are you going to hear that? I feel like you would. That's my opinion, right? Can't prove it, but that's my opinion. But we would have to at least assume that there was some noise being made, right? We have Dylan stating that she heard what she thought was Kaylee say, "There's someone here," or "There's someone in the house." One of those two phrases, right? So that's a red flag already, right? Dylan's saying she heard this. But you would think if you hear somebody whisper, "There's somebody here," or "There's somebody in the house," or if it wasn't a whisper, if your roommate screamed, "There's somebody in the house," that you wouldn't just sit in your bedroom and not do anything, right? That you wouldn't open the door and fuss that they're not quieting down, right? You would be concerned, right? If I'm in this office and I'm recording a video and I hear my fiance loudly say, "There's somebody in the house," well, I'm not going to just sit here and be like, "Oh, I wonder if they're invited or not." No, I'm going to see what the hell she's talking about. I'm going to see what's wrong, right? So that's probably what happened with Ethan and Xana. They're probably getting ready to eat their DoorDash. They heard this ruckus upstairs because they were on the second floor along with Dylan. So then they're checking it out. They're waiting. Kohlberger comes down the stairs. He meets face to face with Ethan, right? You have to assume, right, that Ethan is going to be the one doing the confrontation. I mean, traditionally, right? That's what you would expect. That's what it would seem to be. So he comes down and he meets Ethan. Do you think just because Kohlberger might have a knife, that Kohlberger in his frame and size and Ethan in his frame and size, do you think that would just be a simple quiet struggle? Or do you think that would be I don't want to get super descriptive of that because I don't want to take that chance of, I don't want to do that. But I feel like it would be noisy. I feel like it would be some yelling, some hollering back and forth, right? Some, at least, if nothing else, directions from Ethan to Xana to get in the room, shut the door, run away, that somebody else on the second floor would have heard, right? Right? Now, we don't know Dylan's entire statement yet. That's important, right? Because I'm very suspicious of Dylan. Now, I have a really big issue with the fact that that would be her entire statement as far as what's in the PCA. I don't believe it is. I mean, I'm almost matter of fact certain that that's not her entire statement, right? So maybe she has a lot more to her story that makes it make sense, and that comes out in trial when they're questioning her or playing her statements, whatever, however they end up doing it. Maybe the rest of it comes out. But for now, super suspicious of Dylan because of this. Because then you have two men fighting and tussling on the same floor of the house as you. You're apparently opening the door and looking to see what's going on. And the third time that you open the door after hearing what had to sound like a fight and screams, right? Because if Ethan and Brian are fighting, what's Xana doing? What is she doing? Is she running to hide? Or is she screaming for help? Especially once Brian overtakes Ethan, right? Wouldn't Xana be screaming for help? Would she be screaming at Brian while she's trying to attack him? You're going to hear this, right? You're going to know that something wild is taking place when you're on that same floor, right? At the beginning of this case, I gave the roommates the big benefit of the doubt. I even pushed back against anybody who questioned, well, maybe they had something to do with it. And I was like, no, two girls, they didn't commit the crime, right? That's where I was going with it. But then we find out that Dylan was actually on the second floor and she heard some things. Well, if you heard these things, then what else did you hear? Because you had to hear a lot more, right? Like, if you tell me I heard nothing, I knew nothing about it, I had AirPods in, or I had my music up loud, I never knew anything happened, I'll understand and believe that. But if you tell me you heard somebody say, somebody's in the house, that you heard somebody say, it's okay, I'm here to help. If you heard what sounded like the dog bumping around upstairs, right? That Kaylee playing with her dog. Then you didn't hear a huge fight going on the second floor, the same floor you're on. And then you think nothing of all of that when you open your door and you see a man dressed all in black wearing a mask walking out of your house. And like I've said before, he had to either be carrying a bag with stuff in it or a knife in his hand, right? Because he didn't have a knife sheath to put it back in, if indeed that knife sheath belongs to the murder weapon, which I still say we don't know about. Still say it. So, it's just, Dylan, it brings up a lot of questions about Dylan, right? So, let's say that since Dylan's story makes so little sense, let's say that the prosecutor doesn't want to put Dylan up as a witness, right? Well, then do you have a case against Brian at all? When you take away the eyewitness that tries to put him in the house? Do you have any case against him? What if Dylan stays in, right? But the genealogy and stuff on the knife sheath, it ends up getting thrown out. What happens then? Now you have absolutely nothing putting Brian Kohlberger at the 1122 King Road house. You only have what he's admitted to, which is being out driving around in his car at that time. That's all you have. You have suspicion, right? I would call it probable cause, right? Because there's levels to what the cops can do, right? So they need to have suspicion of a crime before they can even ask you for an ID, right? Let's start there. So they need to believe you have committed a crime before a police officer can stop you and ask you for your ID. If they don't believe you have committed a crime, then you don't have to identify yourself to them. Under the law, right? We're not talking about best practices. We're not talking about trying to be a good citizen. We're talking about rights and what you have to do and what the standards are. So, suspect of a crime, they're going to ID you, right? Probable cause, they're going to detain and arrest you, right? Now, if the probable cause looks more likely than not, then they're going to charge you, right? But more likely than not is only going to get you to the point where you're charged with a crime. Because once you go to trial, once you go to court, and you face trial in front of a jury, or if it's not a jury trial, in front of a judge, then it needs to be beyond reasonable doubt. In a criminal trial, to prosecute you for a crime. And the reason for that, it makes it more difficult, right? It makes it more likely that somebody will get away with a crime because you can't prove it beyond any doubt, right? But it stops people, well, it should stop people if the letter of the law is followed, that is. It should stop people from being convicted of crimes they didn't commit. Because you would much rather have a person who committed a crime walking free than to have an innocent person put behind bars on accident, right? Because the only answer to that is yes. Because at any point, if you have an innocent person behind bars for a crime they didn't commit, that means the person who did commit it is walking free, right? So, no matter what you do, you're still going to have a criminal walking free that way. Why put the innocent man behind bars? It's unacceptable. So that's why proof beyond any doubt, any reasonable doubt, make sure I'm clear on that. Because, you could put doubt, you could imagine doubt into anything. But this case has plenty of reasonable doubt. Plenty. What is chat talking about? Uh-oh, Crisis Cast is in here. Cindy Townsend. How's everybody doing? Nellie B. Jameson. The Richard. What's up, the Richard? Where are the broken tables, devices, flower pots, pictures off the wall? The shoe scuffs at the fake vinyl wood floor. The scuffs couldn't be permanently cleaned up. Rocking bottom of shoes, scrape. What are you talking about? With the fight between them? Is that what you're getting at with that? Like there would be evidence of the struggle between them? Is that what you're asking for? Because I would assume that's there. Like, it would have to be, right? I want to say that I'm sure that Ethan wouldn't just stand there and allow another man to take his life, right? He's going to fight back. Don't need to know his personality type whatsoever. We were told that Xana fought back too, right? That she had defensive wounds, which means she fought back. That he was struggling with the wounds against her. And we haven't been told very much about Ethan. If you go back to the probable cause affidavit, you get a little paragraph or so about each victim up until Ethan. And then it just says redacted after that. Could have been about him. Could have been about the injuries that he, took, about whatever evidence they might have on him. But his stuff was redacted, right? We don't know what it was. Won't know until trial. So we don't know that there's not a lot of defensive wounds on him. We don't know what they have there, but what we know they don't have is DNA of the suspect, right? The people, none of them had DNA under their fingernails and stuff. None of that ever came out. So we were never told about any DNA except for the knife sheath. If that's where we are, if there is no DNA other than the knife sheath, I don't see it as beyond reasonable doubt what they've shown us so far. I am open to changing my mind on that. If we watch the trial, right? because I definitely plan to watch the trial, hopefully live. But as we watch the trial, if they present good evidence, if they convince me during the trial that Brian Kohlberger did commit this crime beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm not against this saying that. I don't want to push a narrative. When I get on here and talk, just giving my opinion, just giving my view of things, what I think about it, how I see it, what I believe. I'm not trying to report news. I'm not trying to educate you necessarily. None of that, right? You can educate me, but I'm just talking. I'm just up here giving commentary on the case, right? I'm not investigating the case, really. I'm not trying to solve the case, really. I'm watching the case. I'm being convinced one way or the other about the case. I'm doing research to try to understand, to please myself with whether I believe he did this or not, right? And with the little bit of evidence that we have so far, I can't say that I do. But maybe they prove it in court. I'm open to that. I'm also open to Brian Kohlberger's defense instilling more doubt about things that I haven't noticed yet, right? So at the end of the trial, then I'll know whether I believe Brian Kohlberger is guilty or innocent based off of all the evidence. But based off the evidence that we have to the public right now, it would be a not guilty verdict if you follow the letter of the law. Oh, wait. Goodness. I am popular today, ain't I? How's everybody been? Junior Nana. What does this say? Early 80s. Husband was out to sea. A phone call woke me. I'm coming over to kill you. I was so petrified that I couldn't even go to the other room and get my infant. I told police I was afraid to unlock the door for them. Okay. So is that defending the frozen in fear for Dylan? Right? Because, yeah, some people freeze up. But the people who freeze up, they're not opening the door and looking out the door and screaming to be quiet, to settle down. They're not, going back in their room and texting on their phone. They're frozen in fear, right? You were so scared you didn't want to open the door for the police because you didn't believe maybe it was the police, right? But this is a house with a bunch of roommates. Did she text all the roommates? Did she text Bethany? Was Bethany in the house at the time? Right? There's so many questions. I'm not saying Dylan wasn't frozen in fear, but she wasn't frozen in fear for 8 hours. I mean, we got to be realistic, right? 8 hours. That's a very long time. You would know that so much time has passed that the person is not there to get you anymore, right? So I don't buy the frozen in fear stuff. I know some people will freeze in fear. I don't believe it works in a way where 8 hours later they're still frozen in fear in their room, even though they wrote nothing in the PCA about this person hearing the crime being committed, hearing anything that would cause them to be frozen in fear, right? It seems relevant to the topic, right? And they want to arrest him, so it seems like if she heard things that caused her to be frozen in fear, like screams and shrieks or a scuffle, a fight, they would have put that in the PCA, right? Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just asking. Oh, wow. It's already 4 o'clock. Been on here for an hour already? Really had nothing to talk about today. I'm just on here to be on here, to hang out. This live stream will be turned to members only right after I get off of it, though. Maybe I clip a few pieces of it and get it out, but otherwise, it's going to be members only. So if you want to be on the replay crew or catch live streams, most live streams I do are always going to go to members only after the fact because I just don't want it out to the public while I'm sitting here talking. You ain't no telling what I might say, you know what I mean? Just a regular guy. Oh, wait. Hey, Dakota Parker. Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you being here. Hope you have an amazing day, too. Right. Yes. Where did you go? There it is. Yes. J.R. Nana. I now hear there was a mass murderer that had called some of his victims. I'm not defending waiting 8 hours. That's crazy. Exactly. The 8 hour part's crazy. The frozen in fear thing, yeah, it can happen, right? Probably a personality type thing. And I don't want to say, never mind. I was going to say probably more common with women, but I don't know these days, right? Probably not. A lot of women seem like they got more of a spine these days than the men, but we're not going there. Oh, wait. Celtic Spike says, DM opened the door 3 times in 12 minutes, and one was to yell or demanding to be quiet. Why was she scared? She said she didn't know what actually happened. I agree. I agree with you there. She gave no reason to be scared in her statement on the PCA. Maybe there's more, though, right? Because she had to hear a lot more. I can buy that she was scared if she hears the shrieks and screams and the craziness going on in the other rooms. If she's hearing that, I could see her like going into a mental break and freaking out and losing herself mentally for a while. 8 hours? I don't know about 8 hours, but I could see it, at least to where she wouldn't be calling immediately or she wouldn't be running out of the house in a panic because she was frozen in fear. I could see that. I appreciate you becoming a member, Richard. Thank you. Appreciate the support. Like I said, the live streams go to members only, and sometimes I post different content there. It's not a whole lot of members right now, so there's not a lot that gets posted there, but anything that is ever on my channel, it will never be taken off. It will only be like members only, or maybe split into, like, if it's a live stream like this one where I'm not really prepared, not really wanting to put this out as like a whole video or something, then I'll probably clip out pieces to make videos of, and then if you want to see the rest of the context around that clip, you have to be a member to see the full live stream. But I appreciate you becoming a member. Also, Eve Lucky and Harlot and Brian Hoffman, I appreciate all you guys. The support is appreciated. Oh, wait. What else has been going on, guys? Or what other questions or thoughts do you have? Does anybody want to come up and give some thoughts? Maybe have a conversation or debate? As I said a while ago, I can do devil's advocate. I can argue for the prosecutor. I can argue for the defense in this case. I feel like whichever way you want to look at this case is the way that you're going to see it. I can see plenty of reasons people would think that Kohlberger is guilty, and I can see plenty of reasons why he does not meet the standard of beyond reasonable doubt. Oh, so if anybody wants to come up and play the debate game, I guess, or just give a thought and opinion, let me know, and I will post a link. I keep forgetting to smoke my cigarette for some reason. DM asked BF to help open Xana's door, then called Hunter. What is that? Wait. Let's move it. Let's see. Let's click it. From K. Hawkins. Dylan Mortensen asked Bethany Funk to help open Xana's door, then called Hunter. Why didn't she go up a few steps to ask Maddie or Kaylee to help? She needed witnesses, and now 2+ she knew MM and KG were. I don't know where you're getting that she asked Bethany to help open Xana's door. I don't know where that's coming from at all. Maybe I've missed something. I'm open to have missed something, but I don't know where that comes from. You feel free to enlighten me. Round Robin, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you very much. Here we go. I'm still learning the StreamYard part. Like, I've been using OBS, and now I've went to StreamYard just so I can put things on the screen and have banners and stuff. And I feel like it's a little better quality. Like, it's clearer than OBS. Because my setup, my Mac that I'm using to run this live stream, it doesn't run the best version of OBS. Right? So it's an older version. And the older version of OBS, I don't feel like the picture is as clear as it is when I'm on StreamYard. Oh, I don't know why I was telling y'all that anyway, but just was. Nellie B. I guess she's talking to Jameson there, but Bethany and Dylan were out separately and home by 1 a.m. Law enforcement were appealing for info on Xana. Let's click it. And Ethan's whereabouts. PCA then said Bethany saw them at Sigma until 1:45 a.m. Yes. KC Rain says her dad said she was home at 12 when he called her. He said Bethany was at home at 12 when he called her? Oh, Junior Nana, thank you for becoming a member. Here we go. Let's drop the link in chat for anybody who wants to come up. Oh, the Richard. Nelly B, what story are we talking about? How did what story change? The trying to open Xana's door story? Oh wait, she told him they were home watching movies. She and Ethan. Oh, Xana's. Yeah, got you. This is Kay Hawkins. Kaylee's sister told this on a crime channel. She also said Dylan Mortensen called the victims at 4:25 after the intruder left. She wanted to make sure the job was done, not out of concern. Obviously, that's an opinion, and you're free to have that opinion as far as what she wanted, that last sentence there. I didn't see Kaylee's sister say that. If she did, then that seems to differ from what's in the PCA, because according to the PCA, someone else discovered the bodies and screamed for one of the roommates, doesn't tell us which one, to bring their phone to call 911. Right? So add Vic's Logic. How you doing? Oh, I'm gonna need headphones for this.
Hi.
Hey, hello. If I can find my headphones, that is. Where did they go? Is there an echo without the headphones? Can you talk, Vix, real quick?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes, ma'am. Chad,
Okay.
is there a bad
Okay.
echo or is
I'll
it okay?
turn that on.
Go ahead, Dix. You can. What's on your mind?
Well, all of it. Now I'm in echo. Wait,
Okay, one sec.
that's awful. Now I can hear myself saying myself, which is no. I don't think it's your
All
fault.
right. Is that better?
Well, look, it's your fault. It's your fault. Yeah. Uh. Well, I hope it's better for everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's usually the problem. If I don't
Okay.
wear headphones, then it just echoes through my microphone. But
All right. Okay. Bloke.
where are you from?
Um. Well, that's great question. Yeah, I'm from just outside London. I fall into kind of London. I'm on a little border just by Richmond. Um, but I lived in Australia for 12 years. I'm back home. And it's kind of great, so
Oh
yeah.
yeah. At least
Thank
you
you. Thank
survived
you.
Australia. In my mind, there's like a bajillion animals that are trying to kill you every day, or the
Well,
way
the
it's described.
animals, yeah, the animals are fine. It's the other ones.
Oh
It's
yeah.
all the spiders and the everything else. So you have to, yeah, like before I left to live there, I was like, there'd be a spider in the bath. And then when you live in Australia, you meet a redback. And it's the first time you meet a redback is fine. And then the second time, it's me and you, mate. Yeah. But, no, thanks for asking.
Oh,
That's
no
cool.
problem. So what's on your mind with the case?
Well, the recent, the whole DNA thing that I don't know about you or anyone else, but this little lady that's come in with, I don't know how old, what's her name, Ann Taylor, has done that, but that is like well executed, lady. I'm sorry, but something about um I can't name them. I think Ancestry, 23andMe, you've got all the things. Like somebody like, no, we can't do that. We can't, can we?
Right. Well, they
We
said that
really
they said it's against the terms of service for Ancestry.com, 23andMe to turn over anyone's DNA. But they also
yeah.
said that it was no governing body making sure they don't. That it would just
Mm,
be an honor system situation. So
mm,
you can't really count on the honor system, I guess. I think that's why Ann Taylor is going after it so hard, that she wants
mm.
to know where that DNA came from, right?
Well, it's to my mind, I think completely. I mean, you wouldn't want to be like, there's no ambiguity when you're trying to find facts. Like, if she's doing this because this guy is like, I said the other night, I think it was on Melissa's. If you're looking your client in the face and he's banged right, like, mate, you've got to do a plea. You've got to you're done. You're absolutely done. And I would have that. But this girl is going, no, he's not, because you lot have screwed up on so many levels. Like it's almost in, like when it tests your intelligence, when you're like properly, no, you're trying to do him up. I don't know. Look, I can't comment on how this goes, but if you're in a kind of legal setup where you've got this guy sitting next to you and he's done for the whole shit that's gone down, you're looking at him and you're going to know. I'm not being funny, but you're going to know if he's done it. She isn't some kind of bibbity bobbity boo just gone in there like, I can change all of this for you. Like, I protect you. No, she isn't that kind of woman. She is properly a defense lawyer.
You
Wow.
believe that she
Sorry.
believes Brian? Or she
I
believes he
don't,
did it and she's just going to exploit the law to get him out?
wow. No, you can't think like that. You can't. You can't think like that. If you, like, when you go into law and you do all of the things, it's amazing. And you go like, look, I only ever got to, look, it doesn't matter, but it's interesting when you sit next to an accused person. So who's doing that? Who's doing that? So I
I'm
would
not
have,
really
like,
following, I guess.
imagine, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to get into her, like her actual process.
Oh, like what
Yeah,
she's thinking while she's
yeah,
defending
yeah,
him,
yeah.
whether she believes he is or isn't?
Yeah,
Like,
you can't fuck about. Everything it is, mate. If you look me in the face, me and you, we're gonna have to, do a plea. Um, and in my mind, that must have been about 5
right.
months ago.
Well, I
She
believe,
believes.
I believe she has to. Brian, mute your mic for a second. I believe that she has to believe him, right? Otherwise, she would be pushing for a plea. She would be trying to get him to take a plea deal because the evidence, she's seeing all the evidence. She's heard what the grand jury indictment saw. She's heard everything that's against him. But
Yeah,
as a defense attorney, right? I don't necessarily think that she has to believe that he's innocent to defend him because it's his right under the
absolutely
laws,
not.
right, to defend him. But I feel
Mm.
like as his lawyer, she should be guiding him toward best practices, right? And if the evidence was overwhelming, as a lot of people online want it to be, then I don't believe that she would be just trying to find little holes in the legal system. I think she's going to do everything she can to point out any mistakes that was made. All of that helps to build doubt, to introduce doubt. If you have an
Yeah,
investigator working the case, right? And that investigator has
yeah.
lied in another case, it's really important for her to point that out to the jury, right?
I
Regardless
know,
of
yeah.
whether
It's,
Koberger is guilty or not, it's important to show that, hey, this
mm,
person might not be a good faith actor, so we're relying on his information and his thoughts, and he's not good faith. He's not trying for justice. He's got a narrative that he's pushing. And then as far as the gaps in the story, right? Like you have, as I was saying, you have Koberger admitting to being out in his car, and then we have video of him driving around out in his car. What does
mm.
that prove if he's already admitting to being out driving around in his car? I
Proof
believe that
is a
she
big
doesn't
word.
think that the prosecutor can prove the case against Brian, and that's why they're not
Mm.
going for a plea. I believe she has to believe that, regardless of whether she believes Brian did it or not, she has to believe that this is a winnable case in order for her to be working as hard and spending the amount of money she's spending on this case.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like in like her position, she'll know. In fact, it's almost a duty. What if you rock up and somebody is like, nah, nah, you'll get that out of them in about, I don't know, a few weeks, where we're all in a bit of a, oh dear, how did we all end up here? Like, they will get it out of him. There is no way that she is being duped by him.
I agree.
In fact, I just, after all this sort of time, I can't see it, because generally it will come out not in the investigation, not in the interrogation, not in the all of it. When you sit opposite someone that is banged to rights and they break down and they're like, fuck me and whatever, we'll get you out of this in a certain way. And mate, you're going away. You're going away. You're going away for a long time. Now, tell the truth and shame the devil. It's something my dad would say to me. I don't know about anyone else, but this guy, I believe, is just like human, but I just don't think he was there. So if she'd have fronted him, like, everyone talks about like she's some kind of, oh, well, she's like some kind of tennis player. No, girl, she's like crafted in what she does.
Correct. I think
She'd
she's
have
got
had him
a
on day
chance to
two.
make her career here with this case. This is the type
No,
of case that if she wins, that she will be able to hang her hat on as an attorney. What's
well,
going
that's what I'm
on,
saying.
Nelly?
It's not tennis. Hi, Nelly.
Hello.
Hi,
You
I,
coming
Nelly.
up? Hello, darling.
How are you,
no,
my dear?
I got to test my sound because I was on Dago's live the other night and I was yelling my head off. Am I shouting?
No, ma'am, you sound great.
No. Oh,
Oh
my
my
God. I
God.
was like
You're
an old
British.
lady, just discovered
Can you hear
technology.
me?
I
Yes.
can
Hi,
hear you,
Brian.
Brian. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, Nelly. I won't interrupt. I just need to know if I'm here or not.
Yeah, you're here. You go ahead, Brian, if you want.
Well, no, I didn't want to chop off Nelly, but what I have found a lot of times, if Southern would go to me and I have no idea what's going on, then he will think I'm not here, but I am here. So what I'm going to do is mute my mic and then let Nelly talk, but then I would like to step in.
Go
Okay.
now.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, well, I agree with Vix. I really think that Southern Logic. I don't know your name, Southern Logic. Is that what we call you?
Most people
Southern
do just call it
SL.
Southern, but my name
SL,
is
that's
Don. Yeah.
okay.
Bit
Um,
nosy now.
no, I just wanted to get it right. That's all.
That's all right.
Yeah, I think there would be some sort of attempt at a plea deal. I really do, if she felt he was guilty. And I admit I cringed when that alibi came out. Even though we know he's an insomniac, his neighbours have said he stays up doing the cleaning at all hours. That's why I was not at all bothered about him doing the trash in the middle of the night with gloves on. This guy is an ex-RUG addict who obviously has issues sleeping. And I've lived on my own a lot in life. When you do live alone, and if you can't sleep, you don't think anything of going for a drive. And I just don't feel that the actions of that car, doing 3-point turns and driving around, was criminal. I can't get my head around a guy who is book smart. Everyone keeps saying, if you're book smart, you wouldn't. You don't know what to do. I completely disagree. He would know that you do not take your cell phone and you don't drive around a neighbourhood if you're going to unalive 4 people.
Absolutely.
I can't see a motive. I know you can't go by looks, but I genuinely see a gentle soul. I'm sorry. I see all these other cases where we've got all this evidence that law enforcement are really happy to put out there. And I'm thinking, like Daybell and Leilani Simon and the Lisk. I just think, oh my God, there's so much evidence. How can they not be guilty? I look at Brian Coburn. I don't get any of that. I don't get any of it. I can't get my head around being guilty with what we've been given.
I agree.
Just
Me either.
Well, that's it. What we've been given now is it's all kind of, if you look at it, if you had a list, say, like my little girl once, we'd moved into our place as a family, and she wrote her name on the wall, and she's 5, and I said to her, why have you done? And she was adamant that she didn't write her name on the wall. Like, she thought that it was, and this, I can't try to, no, I had it all in my brain. But what I'm trying to say is that it's prima facie. You've heard of that. Prima facie, or what other people call Occam's razor.
Yeah.
You've got, and you look at a 5-year-old and you say, and they look you in the eye, I didn't do that, and it's their name in borough. It's not weighing out where it's a bit more like how really, really big criminals used to get away with it. You get me? You remember people like the Crays or they would have a way out, a loophole, etc. We're making this guy look like he's a complete and utter I don't get it. I just can't see it in my head. But there again, look, I'm all the way over here, same as you, and we look at this and we're like, we've only just got over our girl, Nikki Bully, and
oh yeah.
So I don't know. You can't weigh up with this latest DNA thing, and everyone's saying, "Oh, she's put it in the bag." I listened to Lana last night. I still can't understand, and that's what I mean. The jury is what I'm looking at. The jury are going to be like, "What? What?"
Yeah, I definitely think that the jury's going to be. They're going to have a lot of questions, I believe, and if the prosecution answers those questions, great. I think the defense are going to bring up a lot of questions for the jury to have to think about what the prosecution is showing them, and I just, at this point, unless there's a lot of details that we haven't got yet, I don't see them finding him guilty. What do you think about it, Brian? What's going on with you, bud?
Sir, it's so neat to be on with my Dawn. Dawn and I used to email each other books. This is much more my speed. How are you?
Pretty good, bud. Pretty good.
Okay, you know what hit me? Yeah, you know what hit me a couple of days ago? Probably might be more folks here in this kind of segment might be more willing just to hear me out if I say at the onset, I do think Brian was involved. But then can we play back the tape? And let's just go back to the Pullman job interview. Somehow that got into our files, okay? I mean, we all know about that. Then we hear nothing. So then now let's move to today where we are and let's switch it all around. Let's say, whether you like it or not, guys, he is charming, he is bright, he is articulate. For someone looking to hire
He's awkward.
somebody,
He's
he
he's
is
not.
absolutely a hire.
Sorry.
I think Pullman hired him.
Mm.
And I think that we didn't know about it because they placed him undercover. And if
Oh.
you guys go to all the headlines, Southern, I responded to your video with like 87 and your comment coming with 87 headlines. If you guys know for the 8 months prior to the murder, how much Fed busts were going on in that region, it was incredible. They got 5 weeks ago $900,000 worth of stuff. So what is going on is a lot of big stuff. There are reasons why 1122 from day one came out as a known thing. So for all of us to sit there and internalize that and make that bad about the girls, that is not bad about the girls. But there is an absolute reality that that location was known. That if you had an addictive need, swing by. They are just like Super Walmart. You pick your want and you get it. So I think this is all very, very bad. I think things got very messed up.
I
And
think hold on. Let me say this though. I don't think that the house necessarily is known as a super Walmart, but the area around the house, possibly including the house, but the area is 100% known as an area for the students to go um, fulfill their desires.
Okay, that's fair. All I'm saying is I think he was undercover. I think that Brent was totally involved. I think that things as the Fed started to crawl into that region, and think about what a ruckus this would all cause. If you all are into that life and you're living your life that way in terms of income, and you keep hearing bust after bust after bust, you are going to get anxious and people are going to start to change their behaviors. And then we have Emma and Dee. Come on, y'all. How come people can still be sitting here saying to me that I am being bad to the girls when Emma and Dee are out? There is a lot of stuff that is obviously going on there. And this is not like Southern. This is not like me and you buying a bag of weed 20 years ago. Okay, this is big stuff. Okay, this is big. We're talking big. You didn't read the comment? I'm done.
I might not have seen the comment. I'm trying to think of which comment you're referring to.
Okay, I'll do it again. I sent you about 17 headlines.
Which video is it on?
It was on your oh shoot. I'll just email it again. I just wanted you to see all the headlines about all the federal activity going on in that area. And I am talking about big stuff. And you know what else hit me that was fascinating? And it kind of hit me like, and I'm old, but you know what? All the people they were nailing were in Carr's age group. Okay, these guys were in their 40s, the ones that are getting popped for like huge amounts of stuff. Huge, like I was thinking like, kids. No, these are like 40 to 50-year-old people that are getting busted. There is stuff going on there, and it's big stuff, and people aren't happy. This was not a crime of passion. Okay, this was shut up or die. And it's working. Nobody's talking. Okay. I will
Hey,
pause now.
One second, Brian. Vix, do you need me to switch you out for a different device or something? I've got you in here twice.
Has Vic's gone?
Now let's do this. Hey Vix, do I need to remove your old part? Is this you?
See, so it's not only me with this technology, all you whippersnappers.
Let's just leave the newer one in. We'll pull that one out. We'll see how that goes.
Cell
Go ahead, Brian.
phones, your cell phones, your mics, your Facebooks, your elbow books, your knee books, your arm books, your Instagrams, your medium speed grams, your slow speed grams, your twits and your twats and your ticks and your tats and your Twitters and your bitters and your dritters and your snapshots and not
Can't
Can't forget
Good
about Threads.
Stupid
Which
app.
one?
Threads now, Instagram.
Now that one I
Facebook,
haven't heard
Twitter.
of. I'm going to shut for a while. I just want to hear, you know what I mean? I absolutely think it was substances. I think that these poor kids got in way. This whole notion stuns me with Steve. Really? You're sitting here telling the whole world that you really believe that the what did you tell Adam equates to two girls coming home from a bar, happily chit-chatting and gossiping about a boy. That what did you tell Adam is nothing in line with anything happy, fun, and anything. It was a scared chick. It was a panicked chick. It was big bad stuff that was going on. And that nonsense about when they got home and they were calling Jack frantically 9 times, that is panic. That is sheer panic. And what I think actually happened was when they got home, Xana and Ethan were already done. I think when they got home, they were finally discussing what did you tell Adam, and then they were eating. And then like 30 minutes later, they got scared and they went to find Ethan, a male, he's big, and then they saw the scene. And that is why at 2:36, they started frantically calling Jack. I mean, think about it, you guys. Would you go outside if you walked into Ethan and Xana's room? No. I would
you call Ellie
So you
then?
think- Do you
911.
think, right, do you think that Maddie and Kaylee would have seen Ethan and Xana and then called Jack
Yeah. No,
without
she did.
calling anyone else, without calling a father or a friend or the
No,
police?
I would want someone
or-
close by to come over.
Right.
I'm scared. Somebody's killed 2 people in my house. I don't want the cops.
But those will be on phone records. That stuff is not hideable if they did, right?
No, but I'm saying the spin they gave to the relentless, frantic calling to Jack D was supposedly a setup for us that Kaylee really wanted to, kiss him and get in bed with him. That's ridiculous. Who?
I've got a theory.
I don't know why that's so ridiculous, though. 1 second, Richard, and
That's
I'll
funny.
let you jump on it. But because I'm not. Let's go this devil's advocate route. I'm not convinced that what she told Adam wasn't exactly what they're claiming that it was. The relationship stuff, Kaylee wanting to get back with Jack. Jack and Adam were friends. What did you tell Adam? I told him everything. Now, at the beginning, I was thinking maybe it was some jealous rage type of situation, right? But then it seems as though Jack Decor was cleared, right? And as much as I don't want to put much faith in the people that the police department's clearing, I don't want to just accuse everybody of a crime like this. I never accused Jack. I had questions about Jack, right? Like I've always wondered how that situation played with the phone calls and everything going on. But to me, that makes a whole lot of sense that Maddie, they're at a bar, they're drinking at the bar. Jack's at that bar earlier that night, right? He's there. There's pictures of him there. They're all talking around each other.
That was photoshopped.
So then you have one person, and that one person is talking, like Kaylee's friend is talking to Jack's friend about how, yeah, they on again, off again, they split up. I think they really need to get back together. I know she wants to get back with him, misses him, loves him, whatever. And that seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to have been said. And then the girl's on the way to the grub truck when she's like, well, what did you tell Adam? Oh, I told him everything about how much you love him, whatever, right? So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me, right? Like to me, I don't see a reason to take what they're saying. I don't see any evidence to point to something else other than what they're saying.
Isn't
It
that
makes total
amazing?
sense.
That's just amazing to me because her tone of voice at the "What did you tell Maddie" to me was panic, was total fear, anxiety. And then if we watch their behavior when they entered the grub truck, Hoodie did what a tired dude who cares for his friends would do. He stepped back. He did not want to get in the middle at 2:30 in the morning of two buzzed females getting into an argument over what did you tell. That's why I think Hoodie stepped back, but he did not want to leave his friends.
You think that the grub truck shows Maddie and Kaylee in an argument?
Oh no, because Kaylee was so busy on the phone that they couldn't even argue. But I really don't think that Kaylee's tone of voice is really about, oh my God, did you tell Jack D that I want to
I
get back
think you're
together?
reading way too into her tone of voice. You must not have spent much time around American teenagers, or like
I worked with them.
I genuinely felt Kaylee raised her voice because a truck was driving past. I didn't get any anxiety at all, and she's laughing and smiling at the grub truck. I did not feel that whatever Maddie said upset Kaylee. Just my opinion. However, if Jack Showalter said they're going to get you for this, which I think I can hear, I do think there could be an issue there. I don't think.
Yes, that's somewhat telling.
If
It's
he
not
did
a
say that.
normative, right? It's not a normative response to I really want to kiss Jack tonight. For a male to hang out with them and guard them and watch them, the whole key is they're going to get you for this. Is the whole thing, and you know who could figure it out? Believe it or not, you guys, is the National Transportation Safety Board. They do cockpit voice recorders. We can get that figured out, okay? But the consensus seems to be, and you all are far more sophisticated audio than I. Do you all think that you heard Hoodie saying they are going to get you for this? Because that's the only thing we need to know.
We can pull it up and listen to it and like right now to see if we can hear it.
That'd be great.
But first, Jennifer, I appreciate the $10 super chat. Excellent panel. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Big panel.
I can't hear it, okay, but I'm not on the kind of sophisticated stuff you all are. Do you guys hear Hoodie saying they're going to get you for that? Because nobody is going to get anybody for wanting to kiss her old boyfriend. So we can't have it to where I'm misreading Kaylee's tone of voice and response to where the next second later a friend of theirs is warning them that someone's going to come kill them.
Okay.
So we can't have it both ways.
May I please?
Think about go Richard.
Okay, hey, all right. So, hey guys, aloha, this is the Richard, all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Hi there, Richard.
Hi, mate. So I was listening to what you said, and something clicked that had never processed for me before. Okay, imagine this. All right, I agree with what you're saying about the grub truck, very much so. Imagine, okay, why is she calling, or why are they calling Jack, calling frantically? Think about it. They get there, there's somebody in the room with Ethan and Xanam. It's a confrontation. It hasn't started yet. They go upstairs. They start texting, hey, what is going on here, man? Hey. And then that's when it all hits the fan. So
perfect. Scary.
Yeah, definitely possible. Yeah. The other thing I thought was that they got back to the house, and you know how you want to drink some more, and Kaylee was going away again on the Tuesday, I think. Come over, join us. And there were other people in the house. That was another scenario I thought was quite likely. And, you know, I'd been there with an ex, and she saw him out in town and missed him. And, oh, you try him, Maddie. You know, he won't answer the phone. Come over and join us for a drink. You know, there could be a scenario as simple as that. But I still think that we don't know whether Sana and Ethan brought people back with them. I don't feel that someone driving around the neighbourhood took the risk of going into that house and doing what they did without knowing who was in there. I think either someone approached from behind and had been watching, or someone was already in the house. Just my opinion, but
Her
I'm not so
frantic texting was very anxiety based. I mean, I know you guys are like into that stuff, but I mean, that kid didn't stop texting for 1 millisecond. That is not like love stuff. That is something very bad is going on, and she's very concerned about something. Okay, I mean that. Now I don't know. You guys tell me. You do all this. When we watch this video, when they walk in and her Kaylee at the grub truck, do you all text like that nonstop for 25 minutes, ignoring your friend for 25 nonstop minutes? Kaylee is texting frantically.
Okay, so when I was that age and I was going out to the
yeah.
bars and parties with my friends, and it was the very end of the night, and maybe I was drunk and talking to somebody else, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Celtic Spike 7, thank you for the $5 super sticker.
I've got a confession. When I was that age, I had my own karaoke machine, and I sang "Hopelessly Devoted to You" down the phone to my ex, and then denied it the next day. It's called drunk dialing, and it's very,
Yes.
very embarrassing.
Hey, I loved It's Raining Men. You know, we all have our favorite songs. However, in the context of what happened, I
Yeah, I
think
know.
it was very scary stuff. I think bad things were happening, and I think that they all knew it for the last 3 weeks. The week before the killing, Maddie's stepmother was arrested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hold
For
on, hold on.
drugs.
Before we get into that, Brian, let's all take a second and listen to this and see what we think we hear, because maybe he says they are going to get you for this, right? But maybe he says she's going to get you for this, right? He could have been saying, "Hey, you told when Maddie responds, you said
Oh,
Kaylee sounded. How did you say Kaylee sounded? Like she was worried, concerned, right?"
scared to death. Wow.
But
Okay.
Maddie's response to me, in my memory that I can remember, we're about to listen to it again, but
It was
her
indifferent.
response to me was, "I
Yeah.
told him everything," right?
Yes.
Okay, no,
Which
that's
was
a good point.
antagonistic, right?
Yes,
So then
that's a good point, dude.
with the original video, nobody could really hear what Jack had said, right? Because we saw the first one, we didn't know what he had said until the enhanced audio started coming out. So enhanced audio of this, is there that much of a difference between they're going to get you for this, or she's going to get you for this, or
Brilliant Southern logic.
anything like that, right? So let's listen and let's see what we think he said, and if there is a big distinction, because I mean, as far as their narrative goes, if he says if he's talking to Maddie, you know what I mean, it's not so crazy. Now if he's saying they're going to get you for this, that does, I agree with you 100%. If he says that, then that would lead you to believe that whatever she said to Adam is going to piss somebody off, right? So let's listen and see what they said.
First is this.
I'll have to unplug this and mute everybody for us to listen to this. 1 second, guys. All right. Should be good there. Everybody can still hear me, right?
This new video everyone is sharing of Kaylee and Maddie walking, presumably with Hoodie Guy, before the food truck footage later in the night. We can hear Kaylee and Maddie talking, but can't quite make out what Hoodie Guy is saying. I found this from the Inquisitive Rooms YouTube channel. I've also seen people say they can't make this out and have heard other things. I have to be honest and say I do hear they're going to get you for this, Maddie. The second part is not as clear. I am also aware.
Okay, so let me hook these back up. So even with the enhanced audio, playing that on here, I could barely hear that. Could you guys hear it? Let me.
I could hear the first part. I could hear they're going to get you, and there's a big difference between they and she. So
Yes.
get you for this, Maddie. I did hear that though. The text said that it was said they're going to get you for this, Maddie. They're going to get you. I didn't hear the second part, but I did hear the first one.
But
Right.
you really did hear it being they're going to get you?
I
Yes,
absolutely
it
did.
sounds that way, but I do want to there's the reason I was asking that. All right, so at the
Whoa.
bottom of this it says new footage with enhanced audio from Hoodie Guy, right? And enhanced could mean anything from it's louder than what he said it, or it could be AI enhanced, like it could be guessing at the words that they think he's saying and enhancing that, and it has that robotic sound to it halfway through it. It could just be because they've got it cranked so loud, it could be something differentiated. But assuming, because what I heard from this enhanced video is they're going to get you for this, Maddie. They're going to get you.
Wow. How
Now,
sad.
The way he says it, it didn't sound threatening necessarily, and I can't get away from the idea that he could be talking about Kaylee and Jack, right? For Maddie telling Adam everything, right? So it could still be that, in my opinion. I don't discount what you're saying as it could be something threatening, right? Especially when you count that, there's so many big busts going on, that they're at a party house in a known drug area. So I don't discount that it could be something threatening, but it could also be what they're saying, and I would need some kind of something to make me feel like it was something threatening. They went home. They were murdered at their house the same night, right? So that's something that points into the direction of what you're saying.
Okay, so just give me this notion here, all of you guys that do this stuff with your cell phones. Give me some example at 2 o'clock in the morning, Kaylee. Okay, Kaylee, when they're at the grub truck, what on earth are you people texting each other so much like that? What on earth could Kaylee possibly be doing? Like, what are you saying?
Okay, I've got a thought. If she was texting romantically, you would imagine her body language to be different, a la leaning against the building or something. Her body would be physically relaxed.
Totally. It's not relaxed at all. She's frantically trying to do something.
Yeah, I agree.
I think she's
Even
talking
to the
somebody, yeah.
extent of where she's really trying to deal with her super high buzz friend by like half listening, but she's got other very serious things on her mind in terms of the texting.
Well, think about
broke. Something
They're
is
at
breaking.
They're at the grub truck, right? She's on
Right.
her phone the whole time, and then a ride shows up to pick them up. So she's probably texting that person, organizing a ride. Jack didn't know a ride was coming for him because he was
Okay,
like,
that's fair.
what the crap,
That's fair.
you ran off and left me. And then walks off in the other way, leaves once they leave, right? So it seems like either he didn't know that a ride was coming for him, or they just didn't tell him bye, and he was like, why you didn't tell me bye, type of thing, right? Could be anything. But she was on her phone. She was organizing, to go home. She might have been talking about, hey, this guy thinks he's coming home with us, but I don't want him to. I've changed my mind. Whatever. It could have been, oh, I miss Jack now, and I don't want this Jack to come over. It might mess up something with that Jack, and now he knows this and that. And she could be concerned talking about that relationship. But whatever it is, the defense have access to that information, right?
Okay.
So, like, when we go and we start, that's what I think, at least, is when we start trying to pick apart things that it's definitely coming out in the trial, right? If it is bad or not, we haven't heard any reason to believe it's different, though, as far as from the official narrative, the official documentation. Nothing from the defense has referenced it or anything. So, I mean, it could be a lot of things, right? But we don't.
But do you guys remember
I don't
Steve?
feel like we have enough reason to look
Steve
too far into this.
actually, he actually said that night she texted Jack, "Come over, we share a dog, for heaven's sake."
He did say that, yeah.
So
Like-
I think it's just opinion, but based on what Steve Gonsalves said, she saw Jack at the corner club. She'd already spoken to her family that, you know, no one had treated her as well as Jack, and was having second thoughts about being with him. And you know, she'd had something to drink. Come over, we share a dog. You know, she was
Exactly.
going. You know, she was going again the next day or the day after the next day. I can't remember exactly. But and when you've had a drink and you miss someone and you're a kid and they're ignoring you, you're just keep going. Oh, come over, you know, come and see me. We share a dog, for heaven's sake. Come over. That's what I think it's about.
But Nellie, we are not allowed to forget that they were viciously slaughtered 75 minutes after. That is kind of super huge. Okay,
Yes.
Well,
we
I can
have to
say
play
that.
the tape through, you know, and then realize that they were brutally murdered 75 minutes after this. So to me, that makes me kind of lean more into they're gonna get you, because obviously somebody got them all. So to me, that's more congruent with the way the whole thing played out compared to like dicing it up.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, but to me, all along, her and you guys, I don't have a cell phone. I don't want a cell phone. I've never had and never would. But to me, the whole time watching the Grub Truck, I've always been blown away by you all with your cell phones on the phone. You can pass 5 kids at a dining room table at an Outback. All 5 of them are sitting down looking at their phones. I pass that and I think, why didn't you all invite everybody you all are on your own individual phones to here, and then you can all talk to each other? Like, to me, your cell phone stuff is crazy to me. So
Yeah,
the
you're right,
reality is they were found brutally killed an hour after all we saw on Grub Truck. That we
Tell you
do
what I
have to
think.
put. Do what?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I tell you what alarms me at the Grub Truck, and I'd watched that footage over and over, and I did not realise until a few weeks ago that Molly G and Liz K and Jack K were all at that Grub Truck. And you can see Kaylee looking over to those girls, and Molly G was her little at the sorority, and they're not talking, and there's some weird behaviour going on. That's far more sus to me. And I also think that when Maddie says, "I told Adam everything," I don't think that had anything to do with Jack. I think it could be something like, I told him his girlfriend was cheating on him, or it was something that I don't think had anything to do with Kaylee.
Which one is Molly G? I don't know who Molly G.
Molly G and Liz K were in Kaylee's sorority. And Molly G, she's on Kaylee's Instagram. I did a lot of diving into this. And they were the 2 that exchanged the 3:30 a.m. Venmo. And Jack K is the person that Ethan sent the very last Venmo payment to that night. Now, 3:30 a.m., the suspect car enters the King Road area at 3:29 a.m. This is purely speculation, but I think the DoorDash was late. I think this white car drove around the area expecting something at 3:30. That's why it was driving around, and it turns up the minute the DoorDash leaves. And then you've got this Venmo. And the other thing, I looked into the Alpha Phi, was it Phi? Sorry if I've got that wrong. The Facebook tribute to the girls, neither Molly G or Liz K, who are in that sorority, they didn't comment. They weren't talking at the grub truck. There's eye contact between them. The group of girls are looking over to Kaylee and Maddie. There is something really odd going on at that grub truck, and it's got nothing to do with poor Joe Vida. I really feel sorry for that guy. I think he's just an older guy who went out for some beers at a sports bar and had some food. I don't think
I
anything...
hate to say this to you, Nellie, but he gave me the creeps from day one. I think he is either disturbed, kind of, or undercover. And they were watching what was going on in Grub Truck. And Grub Truck, at the end of the night, is a perfect way and place to move some final stuff. Big party weekend.
I agree with undercover because we had all of those agents, all of the officers already. We know that there are so many of them out there. We don't know.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
And then we also have I guess only 20 FBI agents on Friday, and then there were more exponentially the days following. Understandably, though, there were FBI on location. This is way bigger than we're all imagining. That's my thought.
Now, guys,
and Richard, if you read all the headlines that I found, what was going on federally in that area, it will blow your mind. I will send it to Dawn, but it is incredible. And we are not talking little stuff, Richard. We are talking like thousands and thousands of dollars. We are talking huge
Brian,
stuff.
who are you talking to, man? Obviously, I read the same stuff at Aaron and maybe even see things differently than you, though I appreciate you so much. I know you know your stuff. I've seen some of your emails. But I'm saying to you, the headlines, it blew my mind. And you know who turned me on to it was Harsh. Okay, he did a Saturday video where he posted the $900,000 K capture. Look, if I'm into this and all five of us here are dealing and we're into it and all that stuff, and all of a sudden $900,000 of supply vanishes, all five of us are going to have some serious anxiety. True or false? Anxiety isn't under question. Yeah.
Yes, my God. Yeah. And then so I started looking it up. Oh my God, the Richard, you would not believe what they were doing. And I'm talking huge thing, day after day after day after day, big amounts.
Send me those headlines, Brian.
Oh, I will, dude. I did it to you on your video. I don't remember which one, but I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, I was in that one as well.
Email it to me, so I'll definitely see it. Like, I try with the comments, but I work like 70 hours a week. So,
okay, Dawn, when you get it from me, will you send it to the Richard? Because it is mind-boggling. Yeah. Do you have the Richard's email?
I don't have his email.
Oh, okay.
You can CC him, yeah. You could just CC him in if you wanted to. It's fine.
But I don't have his email.
DJThe13@gmail.com.
Oh, look at you. Dude, I'm old. I have to go find a pen.
Just email it to me, Richard.
Find a piece
my email's on my about page on the channel, and I'll make sure I send it to you.
Let's get back.
Guys, can I ask you a quick question? Have any of you, I know this is pinch of salt stuff, but I think there's some truth in it. Have you read Howard Bloom's latest article on this case on Airmail?
Yes, it's wonderful.
I have to say that was so eye-opening, where the sheriff is saying that they enlist students to rat out the DRUG dealers. Howard Bloom actually says, isn't that a bit risky for the kids? And that made me think, what if one of the girls in that house, or Ethan, was an informant?
Absolutely.
And this article by Howard Bloom, obviously he's writing a book, but he's done a load of on the ground stuff and talked to some people, and it was really eye-opening, and it really said quite clearly that law enforcement enlist the college kids to rat out the dealers. And
Nellie, I've been reading Vanity Fair for 30 years. I still get it in a magazine for all you young people. It is a collection of paper that is glued together with a shiny cover on it. I am just trying to be funny.
Brian.
No, I'm just trying to be funny. But I have been reading him for years, and he writes for Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair is really good. He's great. He's great.
Well, you know, I read the first one or two articles, and then I lost sight of it. And yesterday, it popped up on something. I thought, oh, I'll catch up. And I read his part 5, and I really suggest you all read his part 5. It's really eye-opening.
There's a very, my apologies. There's a very good channel called Bedtime Stories with Bella Lugosi, and she reads all of his articles.
Oh, okay. Right, I didn't hear any of that on there, but I read it yesterday, and it was like, whoa. You know, it's that kind of, well, actually, everything I thought might be going on, he's confirming basically it is.
All right.
And
well,
the
guys,
church.
I'm about to have to jump off for a little bit. I've got some errands to run.
Okey-doke.
I'll try to come back and go live again tonight, and maybe we can get another panel up and going. I appreciate everybody for coming by. I appreciate everybody in chat for all the super chats, super stickers. I really do appreciate that. The new members who joined today, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. The Richard, Nelly B, Brian, I appreciate all you guys. And
it was great. It's so neat to talk to you for real, dude.
I will be
let's
back on later on tonight around 8 o'clock or so.
What time is that in regular time? Eastern.
It's Eastern time. That would be 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock Central. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you
Bye,
later.
Nelly.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Donald.
guys. Bye, Don.
Thank you.